If you can't sit in silence, you're not peaceful, you're dependent. That line stings because it exposes something most people hide from themselves. The moment the world stops talking, your mind starts bargaining. You reach for a screen, a song, a conversation, anything that keeps you from hearing what's been waiting underneath. Not because you love music, not because you need entertainment, but because silence removes your anesthesia. And when the numbness fades, the truth arrives. Here's what nobody says out loud. A noisy life is often a disguised fear of facing yourself. You can be busy, productive, admired, even successful, and still be internally fragile because your mood is being held hostage by inputs you don't control. A comment changes your day. A delay ruins your patience. A disrespectful person pulls you into their chaos. Your attention gets scattered, your reactions get faster, and you start living like a puppet that thinks it's free. Seneca would call this slavery, not to a tyrant, but to impulses. And the scary part is how normal it has become. We're taught to fill every gap, to explain ourselves, to respond instantly, to keep the mind constantly stimulated. But the Stoics were built on a different idea. Real power is quiet, because it doesn't need permission. Smart silence is not relaxing background peace. It's a discipline that restores your authority over attention, emotion, and identity. So this video is not comfort, it's training. 8 lessons from Seneca, sharpened for the modern mind. The mind that's overstimulated, emotionally exhausted, and tired of being reactive. You're going to learn how to filter your attention, how to pause without weakness, how to stop explaining yourself, how to choose inputs like you choose food, how to live without needing applause, how to rehearse adversity before it hits, how to use solitude without collapsing into isolation, and how to end your day with a clean mind instead of mental debris. If you stay with me, you won't just understand Seneca. You'll start to feel something rarer than motivation. You'll feel control returning quietly, like a weapon being placed back in your hand. Because once you master silence, other people can't steer you as easily. And when you're no longer easy to steer, you become difficult to break. Your attention is not a preference, it is a budget. Every time you give it away, you are funding something inside you, either clarity or confusion, strength or weakness. Most people think their problem is anxiety, lack of discipline, overthinking. But if you track the root with brutal honesty, you'll see a simpler truth. Their attention is leaking all day. They donate it to nonsense, then wonder why they have nothing left for what matters. Seneca would look at the modern world and recognize the same old trap wearing new clothes. The crowd pulls on you. The noise flatters you. The urgent pretends to be important. And without noticing, you become someone who reacts on command, not because you are unintelligent, but because you have not built a filter. You live with your mind's doors wide open, and then you act surprised when strangers walk in. Smart silence starts with one skill, refusing to mentally touch what doesn't deserve you. That is what a filter is. Not a wall, not isolation, but selection. The Stoics were never telling you to feel nothing. They were telling you to stop being easily invaded. There is a difference between noticing something and feeding it. Most people don't notice, they feed. They read one disrespectful message and feed it for hours. They hear one piece of gossip and feed it into imagination. They see someone else's success and feed it into comparison. Then they say, I can't control my mind. But the mind follows what you keep paying attention to. Think about how many times your day gets stolen in small pieces. Not by a crisis, but by tiny triggers. A notification, a random thought, a memory, a headline, a look from someone. Each one is small, but the pattern is expensive. By the end of the day, you feel mentally poor, as if you worked all day but earned nothing. That is attention poverty. And it creates a personality that is always slightly desperate, always slightly reactive, always slightly hungry for stimulation. Here is the uncomfortable question Seneca would ask you. Who profits from your distraction? because someone always profits. The more scattered you are, the easier you are to manipulate. The easier you are to sell to, provoke, flatter, scare, and herd. A mind without a filter is like a city without gates. It cannot decide what enters, so it cannot decide what grows. Now listen carefully, because this is where smart silence becomes practical. You don't need to fight every distraction. You need to stop negotiating with it. Most people get tempted and then they argue internally. Should I check it? It will be quick. I deserve a break. I need to respond now. That negotiation is already the loss. The filter is a simple movement. You label the thing as non-essential, and you let it pass without giving it a second bite of your attention. Silence helps because it exposes what your mind keeps reaching for. When you remove noise, you see your addictions clearly. You see the itch to be updated, the urge to be validated, the fear of missing out, the hunger to be entertained. And you realize something that changes you. The urge is not you. It is a reflex that can be trained out of you. The moment you can watch the impulse without obeying it, you regain authority. That is the beginning of freedom. Seneca talked often about being pulled by externals, by public opinion, by fortune, by the moods of others. In modern terms, you're being pulled by inputs. The cure is not to become cold. The cure is to become intentional. You decide what deserves your mind. You decide what gets to live inside you. You stop letting random people and random content rent space in your head without paying. So here is your first micro-challenge, simple but revealing. For the next 24 hours, every time you feel the urge to check something that is not necessary, pause and ask one question. What am I trying to avoid feeling right now? Boredom, insecurity, pressure, loneliness, restlessness? Name it once, then do nothing for 10 seconds. Just 10. Let the urge rise and fall like a wave you refuse to surf. You will feel how much of your day is driven by avoidance. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. This is why silence is a filter. Not because silence is magical, but because it returns your attention to your hands. It stops your mind from being a public square. It becomes private property again. And when your attention becomes private, your life becomes deliberate. That's the first lesson. Protect the gate. Because everything else, discipline, peace, strength, begins there. The strongest people are not the ones who feel nothing. They're the ones who can feel the spark and still refuse the fire. Most people don't realize how quickly they hand their power away because it doesn't look dramatic. It looks like an instant reply, a sarcastic comment, a defensive explanation, a tone shift, a glance that turns into a grudge, and then they call it personality, when it's really a lack of pause. Seneca treated anger and emotional reactivity like a disease of speed. Not speed of the body, speed of the mind. The faster you react, the less you choose. And the less you choose, the more you become predictable. That's why provocation works. It doesn't need to be intelligent. It only needs to be fast. It only needs to trigger your reflex. The person who provokes you is not trying to win a debate. They're trying to gain control of your inner state. If they can make you react, they can make you smaller. Smart silence is the opposite of that. It is the ability to insert a gap between stimulus and response. That gap looks simple, but it changes everything. Inside that gap, you regain ownership. Without it, life is just a chain of external events pulling your strings. A pause is not passivity. A pause is command. It tells your nervous system, I am not a slave to this moment. Think about the last time someone disrespected you. Maybe it was subtle, a dismissive tone, a joke that wasn't really a joke, a message that felt cold. What happened inside you? The mind starts writing a story. They don't value me. They're trying to test me. I need to show I'm not weak. And suddenly your response isn't about reality, it's about the story your ego is trying to protect. That's how you get dragged into unnecessary battles. Your peace gets traded for a moment of pride. Seneca would tell you that the first defeat is internal. The moment you feel compelled to respond instantly, you have already been occupied. Because an external person is now dictating your timing, you are reacting on their schedule, on their emotional frequency. That is not strength. Strength is choosing your tempo. Strength is being able to say, I will respond when my mind is clean, not when my emotion is loud. Now here's the hard part. The pause feels uncomfortable because it feels like you're losing. Your mind equates immediacy with dominance. It tells you that silence means weakness, that if you don't reply fast, you look scared. But that is the ego talking, the same ego that makes people loud when they are uncertain. In reality, the pause is what communicates power. It says, I'm not rushed by you. I'm not shaken by you. I don't need to perform emotion to prove anything. This is why the pause is a weapon. It protects you from saying what you can't unsay. It protects you from committing your identity to a moment you'll regret. It also changes the entire social dynamic. When someone tries to provoke you and you don't react, you force them to face themselves. They realize they can't control you with cheap tactics. And that is when respect begins to appear. Not because you demanded it, but because you demonstrated a standard. Here is how you train it in a way that is real, not theoretical. The next time you feel yourself getting pulled into an emotional response, do one thing first: slow your body. Exhale longer than you inhale. Drop your shoulders. Unclench your jaw. That physical shift is not spiritual, it's mechanical. It tells your brain you are safe. It lowers the urgency. Then ask one question before you respond. Is my reply aiming to improve the situation or to protect my ego? If it's ego, wait. Waiting is not avoidance. Waiting is strategy. There's a second layer to this lesson that most people miss. The pause does not only protect you from anger, it protects you from approval addiction. You also react to praise, attention, and validation. You rush to keep it. You become agreeable. You over-explain. You answer fast because you want to be liked. That is also a form of slavery. The pause breaks that too. It teaches you to respond from choice, not from hunger. Now, your micro-challenge is simple, but it will expose how reactive you've been. For the next day, anytime you receive a message that triggers you, good or bad, wait 90 seconds before replying. 90 seconds is nothing, but psychologically it feels like an eternity when you are emotionally hooked. Use those 90 seconds to make one decision. I will not donate my mood to this. If you can do that consistently, you will start to notice something almost shocking. People cannot rush you anymore. And when they cannot rush you, they cannot control you. Smart silence isn't about becoming silent forever. It's about owning the moment before you speak. Because once you own that moment, your words become deliberate. And deliberate words carry weight. The next lesson takes this even deeper, because it's not just about reacting, it's about the hidden reason you keep talking when you should be still. Most people talk too much for one reason they don't want to admit. They're trying to secure their position in the minds of others. They explain, justify, clarify, soften, defend, rehearse their intentions, and then they call it communication. But beneath it, it's a negotiation for approval. Seneca would see it immediately. The person who needs to be understood by everyone is still ruled by everyone. Smart silence here is not about being mysterious. It's about being unneedy. There is a specific weakness that drains people quietly. The need to remove all doubt about who you are. The moment someone misunderstands you, you rush to fix the image. The moment someone questions you, you rush to defend. The moment someone disapproves, you start presenting evidence like you're on trial. And what happens? You hand them the authority to judge you. You accept their courtroom as real. That is why you feel tense in conversations. You're not speaking, you're performing. Seneca wrote about living by reason, not by the crowd. In modern life, the crowd is not only the public square. It's your messages, your comments, your group chats, your social circles, even your family dynamics. And the same trap repeats. You want to be seen correctly. You want to be liked consistently. You want to avoid conflict. so you overtalk. You add unnecessary context. You apologize for things that don't require apology. You explain decisions that are already made. And little by little, you train people to believe you are available for interrogation. Here's the key distinction that changes everything. Explaining is not the same as positioning. Explaining tries to convince. Positioning simply states. Explaining bends your spine toward acceptance. Positioning stands upright and lets reality do the convincing. Smart silence is choosing positioning over explaining. It is the ability to say less and mean more. Think about how often you say things like, "What I meant was," or "I'm not trying to," or "just to be clear," or "I only said that because." That language is a tell. It reveals you're trying to control how you are perceived. But you can't. You never could. Even if you write the perfect paragraph, someone will still interpret it through their own insecurity, mood, and agenda. Seneca would say you're trying to govern what is not yours. The opinions of others do not belong to you. The irony is that the more you try to control perception, the weaker you appear. Because you signal that you're afraid of misunderstanding. And people sense fear like blood in water. Not always consciously, but socially they feel it. You become easier to push because they know you will move. You will talk. You will explain. You will chase closure. Meanwhile, the person who can tolerate being misunderstood for a moment, the person who doesn't rush to correct every impression, starts to look solid. Not arrogant. Solid. Smart silence turns your words into currency again. When you speak constantly, your words inflate. They lose value. When you speak selectively, your words concentrate. They carry weight. This is why some people enter a room and say one sentence, and everyone listens. It's not charisma. It's scarcity. It's discipline. It's the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to prove themselves in real time. Now let's make this practical, because this is where most people pretend they understand and then revert back. The next time you feel the urge to explain yourself, pause and ask, am I clarifying for function or defending for image? If it's function, keep it short and factual. If it's image, stop. Let the discomfort sit. Let the silence do its work. That discomfort is your old identity dying, the identity that needs everyone to agree. There's another layer that is even more important. Over-explaining keeps you trapped in the past. You keep reliving a moment, trying to rewrite how it landed. You try to fix it with more words. But the Stoic move is different. You accept that some things will land imperfectly. You accept that some people will misunderstand you. You accept that you cannot be perfectly received. And by accepting it, you become free to act, rather than trapped in endless clarification. Your micro-challenge is simple, and it will change your social energy quickly. For the next 24 hours, remove one sentence from your responses. If you wrote 3 lines, send 2. If you wrote a paragraph, cut it in half. If you feel the itch to justify, replace it with a clean statement or nothing at all. Watch what happens. You will notice fewer emotional hangovers after conversations. You will feel less drained. And you'll also notice something interesting. The people who only liked you when you over-explained will become uncomfortable. That discomfort is information. It tells you who was benefiting from your neediness. This lesson is not about being cold. It's about being precise. Silence becomes a boundary that doesn't need to announce itself. And once you learn to stop begging to be understood, you'll be ready for the next lesson. Because the real enemy isn't only other people's opinions. It's what you let into your mind every day without noticing, like mental junk food that slowly poisons your calm. Your mind digests everything you feed it. And just like the body, it becomes what it consumes. If you eat garbage for long enough, you don't just feel bad, you become weak. The same is true mentally. Most people think they are stressed because life is hard. Sometimes that's true, but a lot of the time, they're stressed because they keep eating mental junk and calling it normal. Seneca lived in a world full of noise too, a world of gossip, spectacle, politics, social climbing, people performing status in public, different tools, same sickness. He warned about the crowd, not because crowds are evil, but because crowds are contagious. If you stay around low thinking long enough, you start thinking low. If you stay around reactive people, you start reacting. If you stay around constant complaint, you start seeing life through complaint. The question is not whether you are strong. The question is what you are absorbing. Smart silence is not only about removing sound, it is about removing toxins. And toxins are not always dramatic. They are often small and frequent. A feed that spikes your envy. A chat that rewards cynicism. A person who always turns every story into drama. A stream of news designed to keep you alert but never informed. You don't need to be fragile for these things to affect you. You only need to be exposed consistently. Here's the mistake people make. They think they can consume anything and stay clean, as long as they're aware. But awareness is not immunity. You can be aware that junk food is bad and still get sick if you eat it daily. You can be aware that negativity is contagious and still become a negative person if you live inside it. Seneca's discipline is not about knowing, it's about choosing. This lesson is brutal because it forces you to admit that some of your mental suffering is self-inflicted through your inputs. Not your trauma, not your past, not your responsibilities, your inputs. What you watch, what you read, who you keep close, what conversations you entertain, what you allow to loop in your mind. If you are constantly consuming outrage, you will start living in outrage. If you consume comparison, you will start living in deficiency. If you consume fear, you will start living in danger, even when you are safe. Smart silence asks for a new standard. Treat your inputs like food. You don't accept anything just because it's available. You don't eat random trash because it's free. You choose based on how you want to feel tomorrow, not what tastes good right now. That means there are things you stop consuming even if they are popular, even if they are entertaining, even if your friends are addicted to them. Now let me make this personal, because if you don't feel it, you won't change it. Think of the last time you scrolled and came out feeling worse. Not because something horrible happened to you, but because you absorbed 100 small emotional hits. Someone's perfect life, someone's anger, someone's sarcasm, someone's tragedy, someone's opinion that triggered you. You didn't choose those emotions, you inhaled them, and then you carried them into your real life, into your work, your relationships, your sleep. That's the cost of an open mouth in a dirty environment. Seneca would say you cannot complain about your state while continuing to poison your own mind, not as a moral judgment, but as a law of nature. If you want calm, you must create calm conditions. If you want clarity, you must stop feeding confusion. If you want discipline, you must stop surrounding yourself with disorder. There's also a social side to this that most people are too polite to admit. Some people are not just negative, they are emotional parasites. Every conversation becomes their venting. Every moment becomes their crisis. They don't want solutions, they want company in their chaos. And if you keep giving them your attention, you start to feel tired for no clear reason. That's because you are carrying emotions that were never yours. Smart silence is the ability to step back without a fight, to reduce contact without guilt, to protect your inner state without needing to justify it. Your micro-challenge is direct. For the next 48 hours, do a clean cut on one category of mental junk. Choose one: outrage content, gossip, pointless debates, or doom scrolling. Remove it completely for 2 days. Not reduce, remove. Then observe your mind like a scientist. Notice how quickly your inner environment changes when you stop feeding it chaos. You'll also notice an itch, a withdrawal, a restlessness. That's not boredom. That's dependency. And once you see dependency, you can break it. If you do this, you'll enter the second half of the video with a stronger nervous system and a clearer mind, because the next lesson is where most people fail without even realizing it. They live for the scoreboard of the world. They chase applause, approval, and status, then call it ambition. Seneca offers a harder path, but it gives you a freedom that the crowd can't touch. There are two scoreboards running in your life at the same time. One is loud, public, addictive. It tracks likes, attention, praise, money, status, being chosen, being noticed. The other scoreboard is quiet, private, almost invisible. It tracks whether you acted with integrity, whether you kept your temper, whether you spoke truthfully, whether you did what you said you would do when nobody was watching. Most people live for the loud scoreboard and then wonder why they feel empty even when they win. Seneca would tell you the loud scoreboard is a trap because it can never be satisfied. The crowd's approval is a moving target, and you become a slave to its mood. One day you're admired, the next you're forgotten. One day you're praised, the next you're criticized. If your inner peace depends on the crowd, your peace is rented, not owned. That is why so many people become anxious as they become more visible. The more they chase applause, the more fragile they become, because now they must maintain an image instead of living a life. Smartsilence is choosing the quiet scoreboard, not as a coping mechanism, but as a strategy for strength. Because when you stop living for applause, you stop being programmable. You stop chasing validation in conversations. You stop doing things just to be seen. You stop letting other people's reactions determine your self-respect. And that shift is terrifying at first because the crowd has been your compass. Without it, you have to face a harder question. What do I respect? This is where Seneca becomes brutally useful. He doesn't tell you to abandon success. He tells you to stop worshiping it. There is a difference. Wealth, recognition, achievement can be used, but they are unstable foundations. They come and go. Your character is the only possession that is truly yours, and yet most people treat their character like an afterthought, while treating reputation like oxygen. Look at how this shows up in everyday life. You say yes when you mean no because you want to be liked. You stay quiet when you should speak because you fear disapproval. You argue online to win because you crave the feeling of superiority. You overwork not because you love the craft, but because you want the proof that you matter. None of this is ambition. It's insecurity wearing a suit. The loud scoreboard also creates a specific kind of mental noise, comparison. You stop seeing your life as your life. You see it as a ranking. You measure your pace against someone else's highlight reel. You measure your worth against someone else's income, body, relationship, social proof. And you become blind to the only comparison that matters, who you were yesterday versus who you are today. Comparison is a thief that doesn't steal money. It steals meaning. Seneca's antidote is simple, but it demands courage. Choose a standard that doesn't move with public opinion. Decide what kind of person you are building, then judge your days by that. Did you keep your word? Did you train your mind? Did you treat people with fairness? Did you act out of reason rather than impulse? These are not glamorous metrics. That's why they work. They cannot be faked for attention. They have to be lived. Smartsilence helps here because it removes the constant measurement against the world. Silence gives you space to hear your own standards again. In noise, you become performative. In silence, you become honest. And honesty is uncomfortable, but it is clean. It lets you stop pretending you're fine with the life you're actually dissatisfied with. It pushes you to make real adjustments instead of cosmetic ones. Your micro-challenge is one of the most powerful things you can do for your mind. For one day, stop checking any metric that feeds the loud scoreboard. No view counts, no likes, no comments for validation, no comparing, no checking who watched, who replied, who noticed. If you can't avoid it completely, then set a single window to check it once and treat it like a tool, not a verdict. Then redirect your attention to the quiet scoreboard. At the end of the day, ask yourself 3 questions. Did I act with discipline? Did I act with fairness? Did I act with courage? Answer privately, without drama. That private accounting is how you build real self-respect. If you can live by the quiet scoreboard, you become stable in a way the world doesn't understand. Praise doesn't inflate you. Criticism doesn't crush you. You become harder to manipulate because you're no longer hungry for approval. And once that hunger weakens, the next lesson becomes easier, because the next lesson is about the shocks of life, the delays, the disrespect, the losses. Seneca teaches you how to rehearse them before they arrive, so they don't steal your mind when they do. Most people lose their calm before anything even happens. They imagine, they anticipate. They rehearse disaster without meaning to. And then when life finally delivers a real problem, they're already exhausted from the mental version. Seneca understood this weakness so well that he turned it into an advantage. He didn't teach people to hope for the best and pray the storm misses them. He taught them to prepare the mind so the storm doesn't own them. Smartsilence here is not positive thinking. It's controlled confrontation with reality. The Stoics had a practice that modern people often misunderstand: premeditation of adversity. It sounds dark if you don't get it. Why would I think about loss, failure, disrespect, illness, delays? Because if you never look at those possibilities, you become naive. And naivete is expensive. The first time adversity touches you, you panic like it's an anomaly when it's actually part of the contract of being alive. Seneca would say that life doesn't ambush you. It repeats itself. People will misunderstand you. Plans will break. Money will fluctuate. Bodies will age. Someone will disrespect you. Something you love will end. These are not curses, they're the schedule. When you accept that, you stop being shocked. And when you stop being shocked, you stop reacting like a child who thinks the world was supposed to be easy. The reason this matters is simple. Surprise is what steals your mind. A delay becomes rage because you expected smoothness. A rude comment becomes obsession because you expected fairness. A setback becomes despair because you expected linear progress. The suffering is not only the event, it's the collision between reality and your expectations. Smartsilence lowers the violence of that collision by training expectations to match the real world. Now imagine what this does to your confidence. If you've already rehearsed setbacks, they don't feel like proof you're cursed. They feel like the thing you trained for. The mind says, I knew this was possible, and I can still act. That is the difference between resilience and fragility. Fragility needs life to cooperate. Resilience is ready when it doesn't. Here is how you apply this without becoming paranoid. You pick a short window, 2 minutes, and you run through a controlled rehearsal. You say to yourself, today I may be delayed. Today someone may be disrespectful. Today a plan may fail. Today I may feel anxious for no clear reason. And then you add the most important part. If it happens, what will my response be? Not what will I feel, feelings will arise. What will I do? The response is the only part that belongs to you. Seneca's version of strength is not the absence of emotion. It's the presence of direction. You can feel fear and still move. You can feel irritation and still choose fairness. You can feel sadness and still act with dignity. The rehearsal teaches you that emotions are weather, not commands. They can pass through without controlling your steering wheel. Smartsilence also uses imagination for healing instead of harm. Most people use imagination against themselves, like an inner enemy. They picture the worst and then freeze. Premeditation flips it. You picture the worst, and then you practice remaining upright. You make the mind familiar with the scenario so it doesn't collapse when it arrives. That familiarity is not surrender, it's armor. Your micro-challenge is precise, and if you do it for a week, your nervous system will change. Each morning, take 2 minutes in silence and rehearse 3 disruptions. Pick ones that actually happen in your life. Someone being cold, a delay, a financial worry, criticism, a plan changing. Then decide one Stoic response for each. Simple responses. I will not reply instantly. I will not argue to win. I will handle the next step without drama. I will focus on what is in my control. Then go into your day. You will notice 2 immediate effects. First, when adversity shows up, it doesn't feel personal. It feels familiar. Second, you will start respecting yourself more because your reactions become less chaotic. You become someone who can be hit without collapsing. That is rare. And now we move into a lesson that most people avoid because they confuse it with loneliness. Seneca didn't romanticize constant social life, and he didn't worship isolation either. He understood something more strategic. Solitude can be used as a tool to rebuild your identity and recover your mind, but only if you do it with intention. Most people are never alone and still feel lonely. They're surrounded by noise, messages, opinions, content, faces, and yet their own mind feels like a stranger. That's not connection. That's distraction with witnesses. Seneca would say, you don't need more company. You need more clarity. And clarity is born in controlled solitude, not in constant interaction. Smart silence here is the difference between isolation and strategic withdrawal. Isolation is when you pull away because you feel rejected, ashamed, defeated. Withdrawal is when you step back on purpose to restore your standards, your direction, your identity. Isolation weakens you because it's driven by emotion. Withdrawal strengthens you because it's driven by reason. The modern world teaches you something subtle and dangerous. It teaches you that being alone is a problem to be solved immediately. If you feel a gap, fill it. If you feel bored, scroll. If you feel uncertain, ask for opinions. If you feel restless, seek stimulation. Over time, you forget how to consult yourself. Your mind becomes dependent on external input for every decision, every emotion, every sense of meaning. That's why people panic when they have to sit quietly. It feels like falling because they don't have an inner foundation. Seneca trained the opposite. He believed you should be able to be with yourself without tension, because the only unavoidable companion you have is your own mind. If you can't live with that companion, you can travel the world and still be trapped. So the point of solitude is not to escape people. The point is to become the kind of person who doesn't need people to feel stable. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Constant social contact can be a form of avoidance. You stay available, always responding, always present, always entertained, because you don't want to face the questions that emerge in silence. Am I living the life I respect? Am I building or just coping? Am I becoming better or just staying busy? Those questions create pressure, so you drown them. But drowned questions don't disappear. They wait. And they return later as anxiety, resentment, and a vague sense that you're wasting your time. Smart silence uses controlled solitude to bring those questions back into the light, but not to torture you, to guide you. Think of it like sharpening a blade. You can't sharpen a blade inside a crowded marketplace with constant noise. You need a quiet place, a stable hand, focused pressure. Solitude is that workshop. Seneca also understood another social truth. Your identity is influenced by the people around you, not by their words alone, but by their habits, their priorities, their emotional climate. If you're constantly around people who treat everything like a joke, you'll struggle to take your life seriously. If you're constantly around people who complain, you'll start seeing your life as a problem. If you're constantly around people who chase status, you'll start chasing it too, even if you pretend you don't. Solitude breaks that spell. It gives you space to ask, which parts of me are actually mine and which parts are borrowed? This is where many people get it wrong. They try to take time alone, but they bring the same noise into it. They sit alone and consume more content. That isn't solitude. That's being alone with the crowd inside your phone. Real solitude is when you remove external voices long enough to hear your own thoughts form without interference. That can feel strange at first. It can feel like emptiness. But that emptiness is not a void. It's space. And in that space, you can rebuild. Now let's make it practical in a way you can actually do without turning your life upside down. You don't need a retreat. You need a small daily withdrawal that is non-negotiable. A window where you are unavailable, not as a punishment, but as maintenance. During that time, you don't consume. You don't seek new opinions. You don't entertain. You review. You think. You plan. You adjust. Your micro-challenge is a controlled solitude block for 3 days. 10 minutes a day, same time if possible. No phone, no music, no input. Just you and a single question. What am I tolerating that I should correct? Not what are you feeling? Feelings are endless. What are you tolerating? A weak boundary, a relationship dynamic, a habit, a delay you keep accepting, a goal you keep postponing. Write one sentence, then choose one action that proves you heard yourself. Send one message. Remove one distraction. Make one decision. This is how solitude becomes power, because it turns reflection into direction. When you do this, you start changing in a way people will notice without you announcing it. You become less needy, less reactive, more deliberate. You stop chasing connection as a drug, and you start choosing connection as a value. And that prepares you for the final lesson because solitude gives you clarity. But you still need one thing to keep the mind clean long-term. A closing ritual that ends the day undefeated, so you don't carry mental debris into tomorrow. Most people don't end the day, they collapse into it. They fall into bed with their minds still running, still arguing, still replaying, still dragging unfinished scenes across the ceiling. And then they wonder why they wake up tired even after sleep. Sleep doesn't clean a mind that was never closed. Seneca understood this in a way that feels almost surgical. If you don't audit your day audits you. It punishes you through anxiety, guilt, regret, and mental noise. Smartsilence here is not a bedtime vibe. It's a closing ritual, a deliberate shutdown that turns chaos into learning and learning into calm. Seneca practiced a form of daily self-examination, not as self-hate, but as self-leadership. You don't become better by hoping. You become better by reviewing what happened, naming what was wrong, and correcting it without drama. The reason this works is simple. Your mind hates unfinished business. It clings to it. A conversation you regret, a task you avoided, a boundary you didn't hold, a moment you reacted poorly. It stays open like a tab in your brain. The more tabs you keep open, the slower you become. That's why your mind feels heavy at night. It's not only tired, it's overloaded. Seneca's method closes tabs. It separates what can be improved from what must be released. That's the entire Stoic formula in one move. Improve what you control. Release what you don't. But most people do the opposite. They obsess over what they can't control and ignore what they can. They replay someone else's behavior and avoid facing their own. Smartsilence flips it. It brings the mind back to its rightful territory. Here is the structure of the ritual, and notice how clean it is. You look at the day and you ask 3 questions. What did I do well? What did I do poorly? What will I do differently tomorrow? Not a long journal, not a novel, not an emotional spiral. Short, honest, precise. The goal is not to punish yourself. The goal is to train yourself. When you ask, what did I do well? You're building stable self-respect. Not the kind that depends on praise, but the kind that comes from evidence. I kept my temper. I didn't rush to respond. I did the hard thing even when I didn't feel like it. This matters because a mind without self-respect seeks validation like a starving person seeks food. When you ask, what did I do poorly? You're removing denial. Denial is what keeps people stuck. They pretend they're fine, and then they repeat the same patterns. Seneca would tell you that the price of avoiding honest review is paying for the same mistakes again and again. And the worst part is, you don't even learn. You just suffer. When you ask, what will I do differently tomorrow? You turn reflection into action. This is the point. The next day becomes a laboratory, not a repetition. You don't just regret. You adjust, one change, one decision, one boundary, one practice. That's enough. Consistency beats intensity. Now pay attention to the deeper benefit of this ritual. It teaches you that you can be both strict and compassionate with yourself at the same time. Most people swing between two extremes. Either they excuse everything and never improve, or they attack themselves and burn out. Seneca's tone is different. Clear, firm, rational. You hold yourself accountable without hatred. You correct yourself without humiliation. That is mature strength. Smartsilence also creates emotional closure with others. Sometimes the mind keeps running because you're carrying invisible resentments and unfinished conversations. The ritual forces a decision. Either I address this tomorrow calmly, or I release it tonight. Not both. If you keep replaying, you are choosing a third option that solves nothing. Emotional rumination. Seneca would call that useless suffering. And useless suffering is the one thing you can stop. Your micro-challenge is the simplest way to prove this works. For 7 nights, do a 5-minute closing ritual in silence. No phone, no scrolling. Just sit, breathe, and answer the 3 questions with 1 sentence each. Then add 1 more sentence that becomes your anchor. Tomorrow I will practice 1 thing, and you name it. I will pause before responding. I will protect my attention. I will speak less and mean more. I will stop checking the loud scoreboard. I will expect friction without panic. I will take 10 minutes of solitude. Pick 1. If you do this for a week, you will notice a quiet shift. Your days will stop bleeding into your nights. Your mind will feel cleaner. You will wake up with less emotional residue, and you'll realize something important. Peace is not a mood you get lucky with. Peace is a system you maintain. And now the video closes with the real promise of Smartsilence. Noise makes you predictable. It makes you easy to provoke, easy to distract, easy to steer. But when you build silence into your life as discipline, not decoration, you become difficult to manipulate. You become harder to shake. If you want more training like this, subscribe and comment which of the 8 lessons you need most right now.